Welcome back to GTD. This is our summer setup. Well, Mike is in his summer setup. I'm still at the
Yes.
studio. Like always, when I go back down for the summer in the coming weeks, I'll be at my summer setup. But I'm sitting at Micah's side of the desk today, so I can see Earnhardt and the Jordan Hare Stadium back here. I figured I'd switch it up a little bit and get on Micah's side. But we got a lot to cover, especially in the world of motorsports. A super exciting start to May, which we were already. I mean, me and you have both been looking forward towards the end of May, come the Indy 500 with Larson driving and the Coke
Yes.
600 with how good Charlotte's been recently. But a banger to start off the beginning of May. And let's just get right into it right now, starting with NASCAR last night at Kansas. Incredible race, incredible finish. Let's break it down. What you got?
Yeah, so the closest finish in NASCAR history, and I don't know about you, but watching that four wide off of turn four to the line, I was just freaking out. I thought Chris Buescher had it, honestly, at the finish line. I thought he
I
had
did
won. I
too.
was watching it with my dad, and my dad had asked me who I'd picked. I told him Kyle Larson. So as they hit the line, I was like, "Oh, I think Buescher got it." My dad was like, "Oh, that must be devastating for you." I was like, "No, I'm happy for Buescher. Honestly, I hope he got that win." But turns out, upon review on the photo, Larson got it. But what a race at Kansas. Just so much battling
Yeah.
for the lead. And I know there was so much talk about aero blocking coming into the weekend. And you saw it with the long run towards the end with Hamlin out front, to where part of it was fuel saving, obviously, but just the inability of cars to make lanes work other than the top and that aero blocking. But you still ended up with a very, very good finish and a very entertaining race for the most part.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. When I watched it real time, honestly, I wasn't really looking at the front. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. I was really looking at Truex and Elliott coming down because I was like, one of those guys may steal this win. And if it had been a track like Talladega, I think one of them does steal the win. I think it's Truex
Yeah.
with the all four tires instead of just two. Because I mean, he restarted 10th on that overtime restart, drove through the field. By the time they hit the white flag, he was in fourth, batting with Elliott for third place. And I was like, they may steal this win. But the finish line came, and I was like, Busher. I was like, Busher, Busher, Busher. That's crazy. And then Fox just showed Cliff Daniels go, what? Like, what? What did I just hear
Yeah.
something? Like, what did I just hear? And I was like, no way. I was like, this is going to be awesome. And then turns out Larson won. Another sad, heartbreaking loss for RFK. We've seen a handful of those this year. And as someone who really enjoys RFK, it's sad for RFK. I am more of a Hendrick guy, so great for Larson, but it would be nice to see Busher or Brad K finally squeak past and just get what's been coming for them for a few weeks, and that's a win.
Yeah, I think RFK has definitely become one of the more lovable teams. And so to see them miss out like this again is really rough. But one thing I do want to talk about with this race is a couple drivers mentioned it on the radio, and I want to get your thoughts on this. How do you think the that kind of rubber buildup next to the wall affected the raceability of this top groove today? Because you saw guys like Larson and Reddick who are normally riding that wall all the way around a corner. They'd kind of ride the top about a third of the way through, then diamond off. It seemed like I don't know if there was leftover moisture up there, if it was a rubber buildup, but something about that top groove in Kansas, just drivers weren't able to run the wall the whole way around the corner. And what effect, if any, do you think that had on the driver's performance in this race?
I think it was mostly rubber buildup. I don't know how dry the track got. I do think it was mostly rubber buildup, though. We have seen a little bit more fall off from these tires ever since Bristol. Maybe not what we've seen at Bristol, but steadily more and more tire fall off depending on the track and the track temps and the climate. So I think the climate, obviously the rain cooled it down a little bit. So I think it was mostly rubber buildup. And yeah, I mean Larson loves to run up there, and he said it got slick. He couldn't run up there as much as he used to. That is till the last lap where he had no choice but to run up there. And I think everyone's talking about Busher's line going into turn 3 and 4. Like, did he run the smart line? It's hard to say. If he had gone low and Larson went high, he may have found enough grip up at that high line to keep it revved up and get the momentum down the front stretch. If Busher went high, maybe he can't hold on to it, and it is too slick up there. And Larson takes the inside and gets it done, or tries a slide job. We never really know, but I do think that what developed over the race of you could start the race up here and then you had to find another line. I think just added to the great racing we've seen at Kansas, and I'm all for guys having to find an uncomfortable line that they're not used to racing because of tire fall off or rubber piling up or whatever it is. I'm just glad they had to find something else other than just running the wall.
Yeah, what matters is the raceability was good, which is really obviously what you want to see from these mile and a half tracks. And talking about Buescher's line, I can't fault him for it. He made Larson go into a space that was basically a car's width wide, and Larson managed to make it work. So just great driving from the both of them. But definitely just a very entertaining race overall. And a couple guys that I want to give a shout out to here for some good runs are Alex Bowman and Noah Gregson, who both pulled off top 10s today. And Noah Gregson, especially, he and Bowman both now have three straight top 10s in a row. What have you seen out of these two guys? And then, especially a Stuart Haas team that struggled a lot of the year. What do you like out of what you're seeing from Gregson?
Well, I'll start with Bowman. Bowman has 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s this year. I mean, he's just been consistently. He's having a lot similar season to what Blaney had last year. I feel like the beginning of the year, Blaney wasn't talked about a whole lot, and then he came to form towards the end of summer. And by the time the playoffs hit, he was in full stride, had the best momentum out of any playoff driver, and we saw where that led to Blaney winning the championship last year.
You heard it
I'm
here
not
first,
saying
folks. Alex
Bowman
Bowman
is
Championship.
No, I'm not saying Bowman is a championship contender by any means. However, he's having a very similar season. I don't think he starts winning the races Blaney won. I just think he continues this and coasts in the playoffs at a good 8 to 10 spot. He's sitting ninth right now. I think he finishes there. Maybe 11th. We'll see. Gregson, on the other hand, is kind of doing what Blaney did last year, but in a shorter time span. You know, Gregson had a rough start to the season, not a terrible start, but a rough one, and now he's in full form. I guess in a Stuart Haas car. You know, we don't really know what these cars can do. And there we know there's hit them and Ford don't really see eye to eye right now. But Ford is still a partnership with them. They'd like to get him in victory lane. So I think he's just learning this car, figuring it out. It's a big jump from Xfinity. And I know it's not his first year, but his first year did get cut short. So I think he's finally starting to learn this next gen car. And we're seeing it. I mean, all the top 5s he's starting to pile up in a row. His win could be coming sooner than later. We've talked about Ty Gibbs earlier this year, and the run he went on, and we're like, oh, his win's coming, his win's coming. Well, he's kind of disappeared. Is the same going to happen with Gregson, or is he finally going to get his win?
Well, you heard him talking about Gregson on the broadcast and the fact that he's really improved his feedback to his team. He's become more in tune with how these cars work. And that's something that I think, just personality wise and driver wise, that's something that Gregson has that Gibbs doesn't, is that real intimate knowledge of the cars and how to give that really good feedback. So I think Gregson has a higher ceiling. And like you said, he's been carrying the Stewart Haas team so far. I think he definitely continues to do that. And I wouldn't be overly surprised if he passes Chase Briscoe in the point standings by the time the regular season ends.
I'm with you. I think Chase Briscoe's just kind of been creepily steady all year. But if Gregson continues what he's doing, I do think maybe they'll flip flop and maybe Gregson just sneaks his way into the playoffs, just points his way into the playoffs. Like I pointed out before the season started, he was my last driver in when we did our playoff breakdowns, and I was like, he's gonna point his way in. He's gonna be just good enough to point his way in, and we'll see what happens once he gets there. Because you have tracks in the playoff like Atlanta, Talladega, and Daytona now. Those are wildcard tracks. Gregson can win that. We know that. We know any
Yeah,
guy can win those races. So I mean, if he wins those races, we don't know what happens.
yeah, definitely. And speaking of the point standings, I want to take a look at this right now. Brad Keselowski has moved back into the cut line. I know he's 15th in points, but as we keep saying, Daniel Suarez effect. This, you have to move it all down one. But Bubba Wallace finds himself on the outside looking in now. What do you think about his season so far, especially compared to a guy like Tyler Reddick, who is currently top 5 in points?
Well, Tyler Reddick's top 5 in points, but I mean, he's had his fair share of struggles this year. And that's not just Tyler Reddick struggles, that's 2311 struggles, where it's been the team or pit crew or whatever, the engineering. But Tyler Reddick's fifth in points is helped by that win at Talladega. Obviously, the win boosts you a little bit. But I mean, 2311 hasn't looked great. Some races they look great. Some races you don't even know where they are. You like, especially
Yeah.
like they're down below 15 or whatever, and you're just like, what's going on? And that's kind of been the story of 2311 the past 2 years. Even Denny Hamlin saying we have the stuff, we just have to figure it out and be consistent with it. And I just think it's inconsistency. I mean, you have Tyler Reddick, who's more oftentimes than not has the car better than Bubba Wallace. And then Bubba Wallace, when he does have a car, I just don't think he's taking full advantage of it. And I think his teammate is outshining him. I mean, obviously 16th in points or 17th in the playoff points above Wallace, where the teammates up top five. I don't know if Bubba Wallace is gonna be on the hot seat this year or next year, but I think next year he's probably gonna be on the hot seat if you keep having a guy like Ty Reddick kind of class him in the field and the same equipment.
Yeah, and you mentioned that inconsistency, and this week was a week we expected them both to run really well. A track that they've been good over time at. Tyler Reddick had won the previous race here, and Reddick in the first stage of the race bounced off the wall, never really appeared to have the pace after that, and then Wallace finally made his way up into the top 10 for a little bit, but then slipped back again, got caught up in the Austin Cindric wreck, and then was really never heard from again. So just it feels like a massive missed opportunity for a team that really had this date circled on the calendar coming in.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Reddick being the favorite coming in and just not kind of being in contention at all is strange in this next gen area. Typically, when we have a favorite at a track, and I know Kyle Larson's a favorite a lot, Denny Hamlin's a favorite a lot. They either win or you're talking about them a lot, right? So it's just to see a favorite and someone who's been dominant in the next gen car at a track and a team that's been dominant at a certain track in the next gen era, just to see them not show up is, I mean, it falls back on engineering, I guess. I mean, they just didn't have the stuff, right?
Yeah, I guess not. And one guy that I think was a pleasant surprise this weekend, a guy that you actually picked to win this race, Kyle Busch, even though he didn't get it done, showed top five speed pretty much all day. And I think if you're RCR, this is a really encouraging sign moving forward because I think at this point you can't expect anything from Austin Dillon, but Kyle Busch at least can capitalize on the good equipment when you give it to him. And this to me was a big step in the right direction for them this weekend.
Yeah, no, he was running top five. He was running fifth when he spun out right before he was the cause of the overtime. We thought we were going to get a really great fuel savings ending, or someone's going to run out of fuel or whatever. And I was getting ready to watch that. I was super interested. And honestly, when Kyle Busch spun, I was like, there goes our finish. I was like, that's it. I was like, this is going to be boring now. But I was way
Yeah.
wrong, thankfully. But yeah, I was like, wow. But you're right, like I said, he spun out in fifth to bring out a final restart. Finishes the race in eighth. So I mean he had some, I don't know if it was pissed off or what, but he had some speed in that final overtime.
Yeah, it really feels like at least their short run speed is consistently improved. Their qualifying speed, we'll just have to see if they can finally bring a good long run car over the course of a weekend.
Yeah, and I think the best chance we have to see that is coming up at the Coke 600. If Kyle Busch is going to get a win at a track that's not a super speedway and win his way into the playoffs without having to worry about points, I'd look out for the Coke 600. We know Kyle Busch can do great things there. He's done it before.
Yeah,
And I think that's a race RCR will build themselves up for with the team that they are. I mean, they're RCR racing. They have the 3 and the 8 car on track. The Coke 600 is a big deal. It's in Charlotte. It's the hometown. They're going to build themselves up. They're going to bring a car. Kyle Busch is going to be amped up and going to want to take that car to victory lane. So look out from the Coke 600.
yeah, definitely. Now let's get into our Darlington predictions here as we head over there for. Well, actually,
Throwback
first let's
weekend.
let's rate the burnout. Let's rate the burnout. The little
Okay.
Polish victory lap that Kyle Larson gave us. He was super psyched. You could tell just hitting the roof of the car as he drove around backward. I'm gonna give it a solid 6. We were both talking about there was maybe an actual burnout that Fox didn't show because you could hear the engine rev in the background, but as far as what we actually saw on the broadcast, it's a 6 for me just for the enthusiasm he showed while doing the Polish victory lap.
Yeah, it's our second Polish victory lap of the year, both by Hendrick cars. Obviously, not as monumental as Chase Elliott with him getting his first win in a long time, but I am going to give it a 7 just because I think there was a burnout. Maybe not a great one, but just like a little half loop or whatever right before getting out of the car. And I think Fox cut away just I mean, there was a lot going on. They had to show the replay, show the pictures, show why NASCAR did this to score this. They're showing crews celebrating and getting deflated when they found out they didn't win. So there's a lot going on, but I'm going to give it a 7. Probably a little biased in AMP just because of the finish. But I mean, closest finish in NASCAR history. I mean, something that's going to be talked about for a long time. I mean, how many times during Darlington weeks do you see the Ricky Craven finish? I mean, this is going to be like that now.
Yeah.
You're going to see it all the time. So, I mean, it's just
How fitting
incredible.
is it that we go to
First
Darlington now
Atlanta.
too?
Yeah. So, first Atlanta, now this. I mean, what a year this is shaping out to be. Darlington Throwback Weekend's gonna be a good race, and I wish I could go to Phoenix so bad because something crazy is gonna happen in the championship four race. But we'll just have to see. But yeah, on to Darlington Throwback Weekend next week. We'll tell y'all our favorite paint schemes. I know there's a few right now that I'm already super excited about to see on track. Um, Hendrick, I think, has blown it out of the
Yeah.
water. I mean, this is a great throwback year. I mean, the Jimmy Johnson, Alex Bowman, the Kellogg's Larson. I mean, just the National Guard, Chase Elliott. I mean, two of the most popular drivers ever. That's a hit. They're all hits.
Yeah, Hendricks killed it. I would say if I do have one critique for them, it's I don't I don't know that the execution on the William Byron Jeff Gordon Flames car was the best it could have been. It's a bit off on the gradient, and then the back is a bit different. But other than that, they've absolutely killed it, and that's nitpicking. But like you said, a lot of good paint schemes for this weekend. But let's talk about the actual racing. What do you think we can expect for this weekend actually on the track? And then who is your pick to win?
I think the racing's kind of going to be like a weird mix of maybe last year's Bristol, not the tire wear Bristol, but the kind of short track Bristol with Kansas. And I know you're probably looking at me weird, but with this next gen car, it's really hard to tell what exactly you're going to get from year to year. I mean, we've already seen drastic changes at some tracks. Some tracks have been consistently bad. Some tracks, much like Kansas and Atlanta, have been consistently great. So I think you're going to see a weird mix of good and bad. I don't think it's going to be great racing like we saw at Kansas, but I don't think it'll be bad either. I think just a step below Kansas is what you'd expect because there are multiple grooves you can run. But unlike Kansas, when one groove wears out, you may see single groove racing at Darlington. So we'll just have to check and see.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. I always love watching Darlington. It's usually a very entertaining race. And my pick for this weekend is actually a guy that I called at the very beginning of the season for this race. It's the only reason I thought this guy was going to make the playoffs. It's Eric Jones, and he is cleared to return this weekend. He will be back after missing a race after the wreck at Talladega, but I'm still gonna back him. I'm not gonna change my pick now just because of that. This is his favorite track on the calendar. He always runs really well here, always outperforms the equipment, and I think there's gonna be just enough craziness at the end of this thing for Eric Jones to walk out of here a winner.
I have to disagree. I love Eric Jones. He does run very well at Darlington. I don't think he gets it done. This one may have been the hardest race for me to choose all year. It's such a track where somebody can show up like Eric Jones and win, but then you have guys who are consistently good at it. So I just took someone. I'm going Ryan Blaney. I'm going with Ford. This is the second time I think I've taken Blaney. So third time I think I've taken Blaney this year. Hopefully he can get it done this weekend. I know Penske was kind of MIA yesterday until Blaney kind of just showed up out of nowhere. But Blaney's been outperforming the Fords all year. He's the number one Ford in points. If a Ford's going to get the first win, it's probably going to be Ryan Blaney, and he gets it done this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely agree that if it is a Ford, I would go Blaney. I think you have to watch out for Denny Hamlin again here, just a guy that's super consistent here. Usually, I would watch out for Martin Truex as well. I think you might see a slightly down weekend from Hendrick this weekend. I think I like Toyota and Ford a bit more here than the Hendrick Chevys, but I'm gonna back my boy Jones, like I've said. But is there anything else you want to talk about on Darlington before we move on?
Just excited for it. I mean, I hope we see some good racing. This year has been weird, and a bunch of unexpected things have happened. So I'm just really excited to see Darlington, and hopefully it's great.
Yeah. Then let's stick with racing. We had a really good weekend of racing, and let's move over to F1 and the Miami Grand Prix, which was actually not won by Max Verstappen. Lando Norris got his first
Yes.
ever win in Formula One. He's had a couple that he was super close to, especially I think Russia 2021 with the rain, but he got it done today. And I know he got the lead because of a safety car, but he then pulled away from Max Verstappen and had him
Yeah.
beat on pure pace. So these McLaren upgrades are looking really good. I would hesitate to say that this would be a weekly occurrence where you see back and forth, but at least for this specific set of circumstances, McLaren was just faster today, and that's really encouraging to see. And very, very well done to Lando Norris.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can stack up the safety car you want, but credits due where credits due. I mean, Lando Norris, after 15 podiums, finally gets his first win. You could just see it on every one of McLaren's faces. You can see it on Norris's face. It was a long time coming. It was a great moment for the sport as a whole. And I mean, yeah, it was super fun to watch. And I do think these upgrades worked. And I'm with you. Maybe not. I'm more interested to see who takes advantage of these upgrades more down the long run, whether it's Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris. In my opinion, it's Lando Norris. I just think he's got a little more edge, but I do think it's close. But I am super excited to see where they kind of fit out with the Red Bulls because so far this year we've seen mostly Red Bull and Ferrari run up top, and now you have McLaren, who's maybe better than Ferrari now. So I am interested to see how this shakes up the field going down.
Yeah, I think McLaren has a top three driver pairing in the sport right now. And let's talk about Oscar Piastri. He had a great weekend and drove a really good race. Was second place most of the race before getting kind of kamikazed out by Carlos Sainz at the hairpin at the end of the lap, who locked the rear axle and smacked his front wing and broke it and sent him out of the points. But this is probably the most I've been impressed by Oscar Piastri in his entire time in F1. I know he won the Qatar sprint race last year, but the knock on him has always been he can't manage the tires. He can't manage the tires. Well, in a race that was absolutely killing tires, he showed out and drove one of his best races ever. So, congrats to Oscar Piastri. And he did that with only half the upgrade package, by the way. Norris had the full upgrade package, Piastri only had half on the car. So, I was very, very impressed by him.
Yeah, no, it was like I said. I do think he's going to perform better than he did at Miami. I mean, not maybe not perform better, but finish better than he did in Miami. Because he does have the talent, and with these new upgrades, he's got the car now. Once he gets the full upgrade, so I'm just super excited to see that. But yeah, Miami, is a track that no one really got super excited for, but it turned out to be a good race, you know? So much
Yeah,
like we've seen with a few races in NASCAR this year, and much like we saw F1 a few weeks ago, and when Sainz got his win. So it's been an interesting year for racing fans. And we've been pretty spoiled this year, and I just hope this continues. I hope we see more parity in F1, with McLaren kind of stepping it up, maybe, hopefully. And with all the people leaving Red Bull next year, who knows? Who knows if Max is even there next year? So
yeah.
I think F1's going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see. This was such a wholesome win, something the sport really needed, and it almost wasn't even a fight with Max at all because at turn one, Sergio Perez almost got demoted to regional Formula 4. He was millimeters from missing Max Verstappen's car as he locked up and sent it all the way through turn one. But I don't know. Did you see Max's expression in the cooldown room when that replay played? That's one of the best pictures of the year in F1. Just the look on his face when he sees that replay and he realized just how close he was to getting taken out.
Yeah, let alone by his own teammate. I mean, it was as someone who's watching, it's pretty funny just to watch him just almost take out both from the start. First corner, just and Red Bull's out. So we have a
Yeah,
race now, but we end up having a race anyways. But yeah, glad he didn't, obviously, because that would have been really bad. We probably wouldn't have seen a very happy Verstappen.
no.
So yeah, but that would have been fun to watch. If I'm gonna be honest, would have been fun to watch. I would have not been against it at all.
Yeah, and there was still no lacking for cars coming together as Kevin Magnussen did his best Wreckfest impression throughout the race, smacking into people, taking out Logan Sargent, and now he sits right close to that threshold of 12 penalty points, which would equal a race ban. So he better behave himself at Imola. And I don't know. He's been reckless pretty much all year. I know you and I are both big NASCAR fans, but it's a different type of racing in F1. You can't just go around smacking into everyone. And Magnussen has kind of taken it upon himself to do so far this season. So I think he's got to get it under control. I I would bet he's had a talking to from Haas at this point, honestly, but it keeps getting Hulkenberg points, so maybe they're not upset. Who knows? But he definitely needs to get it under control.
No, suspension's probably going to come this year. I think it will at some point, especially the way he's racing all year. But we'll just be interested to see that. But yeah, that's all we got from motorsports. Now moving on to MLB. Not a super exciting week. A few things went down. A few things have been announced as of today, actually. Um, But let's kick it off with the bat flip of the week. Like always, this one, y'all knew he was going to get a bat flip of the week at some point this year. John Singleton to give the Astros a lead against the Mariners in the seventh. I mean, just the camera angle on this one, just from behind the center field, is the only one you need. It's great. I mean,
Yeah,
just crushes it. I mean, just yanks it down the right field line and then just that's it. And the whole place went nuts. And it was a great bat flip. And not to mention it gave them the lead in a tight game against a rival. Just I mean, electric stuff. But I do want to say I feel like the bat flip has kind of died as an art. I mean, a few years ago it was
yeah.
all the rage. Even last year they were getting posted every night. Where have they gone? Where are the bat flips, Micah?
I don't know, but someone needs to bring him back quickly. I like you were talking about a couple of years ago, the Fernando Tatis was taking the world by storm. It felt like everyone was doing bat flips, and now we're lucky to get one or two a week. It's very sad, honestly. I miss bat flips. Bring bat flips back.
I mean, there was a week where we struggled to find one and had to land on an Otani stare down. I don't want another stare down. I like a stare down, but I'd much rather have someone spike the bat down the first base line or something, you
Exactly.
know? I mean, let's bring him back. Let's go. I mean, I know all MLB players watch this, so if you hit a home run, bring it back. Pitchers, hey, we can try some pitcher stuff out. Do something cool. Do something like Trevor Bauer would do. But I mean, maybe
Love
not
flip.
everything Trevor Bauer would do, but as
Yeah,
celebration
maybe
wise, on the
maybe
mound, do something.
maybe not that.
On the mound, do something Trevor Bauer would do. I'm okay with that. Leave the offense stuff to him, I guess. But yeah, Detroit and the Rays unveiled their City Connect
Yeah,
uniforms since last time we've seen you. The Rays, in my opinion, is a whole lot better than Detroit's. I know
I
I
love
said a
the
few
Rays
weeks
one.
ago I'm not a big. Yeah, the ray on the actual ray on the skateboard is one of the coolest things I've
Uh-huh.
ever seen on an
Did
MLB.
someone on Twitter called the Ray on the skateboard Evan Longoria, and that might be my favorite thing ever.
I did not see that. That is awesome though. But I know I said a few weeks ago I didn't like black jerseys or darker jerseys as a whole. And ever since I've said that, every new jersey that's come out has been dark. Philly's been
They're
dark
doing
this
it
year.
just
The
to
Mets have
spite
been
you.
dark. The Tampa Bay's been dark. They're all black and blue. I mean, the Mets are like gray and black and purple, but they're all black and blue. I feel like they're all black and blue. So can we get? I do like the color highlights in the green on Tampa Bay, but can we get a little more variety, like a white jersey or
Yeah,
something?
what happened to like the Padres ones? Those are sick. The Padres ones, the Giants ones are cool, but the these Tigers ones, we knew it was going to be something Motor City, and I like the idea they had with the tire trend pattern. They just completely missed on it. I mean, you and I both know that white wall tires are some of the best looking tires anyway, so why not do something with that if you're going to do a tire tread pattern? You could have done a lighter jersey. There's so much potential, I feel like. I love the diamond logo they have on the sleeve. I think that's really cool. Like I said, I like the idea for the tire tread pattern. Just stop making every jersey a black jersey, please.
Yeah, no, I was super hyped for Detroit's Motor City because I knew they were gonna do something with Motor City, and I was like, "This is gonna be awesome." And it's just kind of boring to me. It just kind of fell flat. I haven't got a lot of feedback from Detroit fans. I'll look into that when we get done recording.
Well, we
But
know many Detroit fans.
yeah, but I feel like it fell flat. I feel like they missed the mark, and I feel like they've kind of missed the mark all year. I know Philly wasn't super excited about their Connect uniforms. The Mets surprisingly got more excited than I think they would for those uniforms, and they looked better on the field. And I think like the unique design of the helmet helped with that a little bit. And not to mention they're missing some pants, so they pretty much have to wear their City Connect like every other day when
Yeah,
they're at home because they don't have the Fanatics pants. Shocker. But yeah, they just seem to kind of miss the mark. But out of the two we've talked about that are new, Tampa Bay is a whole lot better, and I do like the kind of graffiti esque color splashes
yeah.
and paint here and there. The green does pop. And I like the green.
I'll say the one I am waiting on that I think might save the year for Nike and City Connects is the St. Louis Cardinals one. I feel like there's a lot of potential for that one with their sky blue color scheme that they love so much and the arch and stuff like that. I feel like there's definitely a lot of potential for that one, but outside of that, it has been a down year for City Connects for sure.
Yeah, I mean, will the Lou? Because I feel like something came out. I don't know how official this is, but it says the Lou, and there's like just an arch around it, and it does have like their sky blue and cream and like a pinkish reddish color that they have. So there's looks like it should. Like every what you'd picture when you pictured a St. Louis Arch City Connect, I think is exactly
Hmm.
what it's gonna look like. It's gonna have a big arch. It's gonna say the Lou. It's gonna have their cream and white with mixed with that sky blue with a little bit of red thrown here and there. And honestly, I think it's still gonna be the worst jersey. The Cardinals are a team that has great jerseys. The blue jersey is
Yeah,
fantastic. The cream's fantastic. White, it's classic. And grays, I mean, everyone just has their great jersey. So I mean, it kind of sucks that they have to, trade a great jersey for a City Connect.
yeah, but this four uniform rule I think is not my favorite. It's the reason why the Braves City Connect I think were
Yeah.
kind of disappointing because they just replaced an alternate uniform with the City Connect.
Yeah, it's a rule of old that needs to change. And maybe the next commissioner after Rob Manfred will say, all right, y'all can have, don't go crazy. You don't need 8 uniforms, but 6, that's fine. 6, even if
Yeah,
like, just go to 5. I mean, if you're gonna mandate a team gets a City Connect, you can't take away one of their uniforms.
exactly. Yeah.
So just,
But
just let them go to 5 or whatnot.
yeah, I definitely would be fine with that. But let's move on to some actual baseball here and let's talk about Mike Trout, a guy that was having a flying start of the season. It looked like old Mike Trout was back. It was great to see. He was co-leading the MLB in home runs, and now he's going to have knee surgery. It's the same thing every year. It feels like with Mike Trout. It's so sad to see, and he's the hitting version of Jacob deGrom, where when they're at their peak, they're the best player in baseball, and you wish they could stay healthy.
Yes. Luckily, it's not season ending from all the preemptive tests and everything, but it's just still super sad. I mean, I think Micah even said it when we were talking about Mike Trout leading the league in home runs. We hope he stays healthy, and not even a week or two later, we're here talking about him needing knee
Yeah,
surgery again. It just feels like it's going to happen every year, and you're just waiting for it, and it just sucks. But yeah, just super heartbreaking for baseball fans in general because no one hates Mike Trout, and it's sad to see happen year over year. But prayers out to him, all the best to him. Hopefully he recovers and gets back on the diamond as quick as possible, and hopefully this is the last time he has to miss significant time due to baseball injury. Especially, I mean, he's been in the league for 12 years now, so I mean, I'm not saying we're winding down on his career, but it's definitely not, or it's not starting to sprout, you know.
yeah. And then
But
I do want
let's
to talk
do
about my yeah, I do want to talk about as we get into divisions here. I do want to talk about I know we usually start with the NL Central. My Reds have been horrific recently. The entire lineup can't hit. Ellie is still playing well. He's rocking an average right around the 280 mark, but everyone else on the team cannot hit a baseball to save their life. We keep having to trot Santiago Espinal out there. Matt McClain might be out the entire season now, it's looking like, instead of just early September. TJ Friedel's on a rehab assignment. We need him back desperately. And then the starting pitching even is starting to falter as Nick Lodolo got shelled by the Orioles yesterday. It's been a very rough couple weeks as we're now 2-8 in our last 10, and the Brewers and Cubs are just flying out in front at the top of this division right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who's tied for the lead in this division? Who's winning the division?
The Brewers and another team.
Nah, the Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. Big series in Wrigley last weekend. We dropped game one. We blew game one. Granted, we only scored 1 run, so all the Cub fans freaking out that we're blowing leads left and right. We are, yes. We only scored 1 run. It's hard to win a ball game scoring 1 run. We got to have some more run support. But we took care of business. We won the series. Now tied for the division lead. The most wins in the NL Central with 21. Imanaga, we've talked about him every week now.
Yeah,
We're not going to stop talking about him until he makes us. Just continue to be lights out. Is got another win. ERA still sub 1. Whip sub 1. Everything's just electric with him. The Brewers kind of starting to play 500 ball recently. They got out to that early lead. We'll see what they can do. I think maybe I think this race is going to be tight the rest of the year, especially for first place. I think you're going to see at least 2 teams. Right now, it's the Cubs and Brewers kind of back and forth for first place.
yeah.
And I really think the winner of the Central is going to come down to who has the biggest hot streak. We saw it with the Cardinals a few years ago. They won 17 in a row and then ended up winning the division. The winner of the Central is going to be a team that has the biggest hot streak, whether it's 12 games, 20 games, or even 8 games in a row. If a team can get a stretch like that, I think that's going to be the difference maker in this division.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then moving up to the NL East here, how about the Phillies? The Braves, their lineup, some of their big stars are really not hitting right now. You look at Acuna, you look at Matt Olson, you look at Austin Riley, and the Phillies have taken advantage. They now sit 2.5 games in front of the Braves at the top of the NL East.
Most wins in baseball, by the way, 24. I mean, impressive to
Yeah, they
watch them
did
right
overtake
now.
the Dodgers.
Yeah, so I mean, just they're playing lights out right now. They're playing on form. Trey Turner on the IL is going to miss a little bit of time, but he should be back. And I don't think they're going to miss a beat, honestly. Maybe a little bit, but they got the 4 game lead right now, or 2.5 game lead against the Braves. So I mean, just watch out for the Phillies, man. And that rotation seems to still be doing Philly rotation things. They're 9-1 in their last 10. If that rotation can stay hot and their offense can just keep up, they're your NL East champs, and the Braves are going to have to fight for a wild card spot, which they'll probably get. But it's a whole
Yeah.
different ball game playing for the wild card than the division champ.
Yeah, definitely. You never want to be in that position if you can avoid it. And talking about the wild card, I think it's going to be very tight this year. You look at even the Nationals are in the spot right now. Between the Nationals, maybe the Reds, if they can figure out how to hit a baseball, then Padres, Diamondbacks, Giants are all, I think, going to be in that mix. It's going to be quite the logjam in the NL wild card this year. And the Dodgers in that NL West have really just taken off. Their run differential's up to plus 63 now, the best in baseball. They're sitting at 23 and 13, and they look almost unbeatable right now.
Otani's starting to hit like we know Otani can. They just beat down on the Braves over the weekend, swept them. So I mean that didn't help the Braves. Without that sweep, they're really close for the division lead. But I mean the Dodgers just look like the Dodgers we kind of expected to see once we saw the team they'd put together and bought over the offseason. So scary and not fun for baseball fans, but it's what we got. So we got to live with for now. Maybe they'll start to falter. Maybe not. We'll see. They're only going to get better when they get arms back. So we'll see. But the only team in that division over 500. So we'll have to see if the
Yeah,
Padres, Diamondbacks, Giants, or I'm not going to say Rockies, but if one of those 3 teams can figure something out to put pressure, I don't think they're going to win the division, but just to put pressure on either the Dodgers or a team fighting for a wild card spot.
yeah, definitely. And I know I picked the Giants to win that division at the start of the year. The pitching just has not been there for them so far. It's been really sad to see. But you mentioned the Dodgers were the only team in that division with a winning record. How about a division where there's only one team with a losing record? And that is the AL Central. The Guardians sit at 22 and 12. The Twins are 19 and 14. The Royals are 20 and 15. And then the Tigers are 18 and 16. And a couple weeks ago we were talking about, oh, the Twins, they might be falling behind, and they just ripped off a double-digit game win streak, and now they sit at second in this division. This, crazily enough, is the hottest division in baseball right now, which is wild to say after what we expected of them starting the year.
Yeah, nuts. I mean, Twins went on a 12-game winning streak. I'm shocked you didn't start or mention this when we were in the NL Central. The White Sox just won a series against the Cardinals, and you being the Cardinals
Yeah,
hater you are, I thought you were gonna rip the Cardinals. But yeah, I mean that was the White Sox had 6 wins going into the weekend. They got 2 wins in one weekend. I know you're saying,
yeah,
okay, they have 8 wins. That's a big deal for this team, and
it
they did
is.
it
They're
against
almost
the
to double
Cardinals.
digits.
Yeah, I mean they're 2 wins. They're 2 wins out of 10 wins, which is nuts. But yeah, this division is insane. We knew it was going to be close, but we didn't think it was going to be close this way. We thought it was going to be close kind of the other way. With you have one or two
Yeah,
teams with a winning record, and they just barely have a winning record, and they're close to see who wants to like not get in the playoffs. But just completely unexpected, but fun to watch. Unless you're like a Twins fan who thought you kind of had this season under your belt, and then here
yeah.
come the Guardians, Royals, and Tigers, all 4 teams. Um,
The
so I mean,
power of
just
friendship
yeah,
is
crazy
strong in the AL
division.
Central.
But let's go to the AL West, a division that's kind of flip flop with the AL Central because they only
Yeah,
have 2 teams with a winning record, and that's the Mariners and Rangers. But the team that's closest to the winning record is the Oakland Athletics, who sit in
just
third
as
place,
everyone
two and a
expected.
half, yes, 2.5 games out of the division title, and just above Houston and Los Angeles. That is nuts to me. That is crazy that are they have a 5.5 game or 4.5 game lead over the Houston Astros in the division.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And I don't know if you saw them on Saturday. They beat the Marlins 20 to 4. 20 to
Yes.
4. Brent Rooker hit 2 home runs in the same inning in that game. It's the A's are fun right now. It feels like I'm watching a combined version of the movies Major League and Moneyball right now. Someone's just meshed the two concepts together, but this Oakland
Hmm.
team is fun and they're hanging around. And in a division where the top teams have really started flat, I know the Mariners are riding that rotation right now that's been absolutely lights out, but Oakland is within striking distance, as crazy it is to say.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be nuts. I do think you still only get one team from that division into the playoffs, and that being the division winner.
Well, the other two divisions are
Probably
so
will
good,
be
yeah.
Yeah, so probably will be the Mariners or Rangers. I'd have to go with the Mariners at this point. Rangers are only half a game back, but we'll have to see how their pitching unfolds once they get some arms back later this year. But yeah, just crazy, shocking stuff coming out of the AL West. But lastly, the AL Central, Baltimore still holds their lead over the Yankees. It's a 1 game lead. Both with 23 wins. Baltimore has a plus 55 run differential. The Yankees have plus 42, so just playing a little bit better baseball right now. They're hitting the cover off the ball. The Yankees aren't hitting as well as they have been all year, but they're still hitting great. But the Orioles just hitting's been fun to watch. Red Sox 4.5 out. Tampa Bay Rays 6.5 out. Those teams are kind of starting to maybe flop a little
Yeah.
bit, and then Toronto's non-existent this year for some reason. But it's gonna be a fun race between Baltimore and New York, who I think will both ink their way in the playoffs.
Yeah, this AL East, I think we both knew at the start of the year was going to be either the Yankees or the Orioles. The Red Sox have been a really fun story so far, off the backs of Tanner Houck, Brian Bayo, and Tyler O'Neill, really outperforming expectations. But I think the Orioles and the Yankees will pull away. The Yankees lineup is just so good, and then this young core the Orioles have, led by Gunnar Henderson right now, who is leading the MLB in home runs, which is not something I would have expected at all. But very entertaining AL East, and I think overall baseball this year, there's been a lot of surprises in these division races at least, and it just really looks like both of these wild card fights are going to be an absolute logjam this year with all the teams right in there that aren't necessarily leading their divisions, but are right there in second or third. There are a lot of teams in 19, 20 wins right now. You look at this that aren't leading their divisions.
Yeah, I mean, I know we still got a long way to the All-Star break, but super excited to see what division races we get this year, and maybe more interesting, the wild card races we get this year. I know last year the wild card race was on both the AL and NL was incredible, especially with the AL West kind of having a three-way tie for their division lead, and the other two were going to get wild card spots. But super excited to see how this is going to shape up, especially with the flip-flops and the teams that were good that are not good, and the divisions that were good that aren't good anymore. Just really interesting to see, really interesting to watch. Just now we just got to find out, which is the most important and fun part about watching baseball, is just seeing how it unfolds because it's a long season and we're still pretty early into it. But that's all I got for baseball. What else you got?
I think that is it for baseball. I know this is a sport we don't talk about at all, but I do want to give a quick shout out to hockey and the Stanley Cup playoffs just because the Vegas Golden Knights were eliminated in Game 7 of the first round by the Dallas Stars. And as a fan of the worst team in hockey, the San Jose Sharks, I absolutely hate Vegas. It's like our one of our biggest rivals, and so I'm just wanted to give a special shout out to the Dallas Stars for eliminating the Vegas Golden Knights. America has won because the Golden Knights no longer in the playoffs.
Wow. I don't know about that. But did you watch the roast of Tom Brady? Have you watched that yet on Netflix?
No, I didn't. I saw a couple clips from it. I saw there were some interesting Aaron Hernandez jokes, and that's pretty much all I've seen.
I'm about halfway through it. And it's not the funniest roast I've ever seen. Um, a lot of the jokes are very similar. Like once you watch the first hour, you've pretty much seen the whole thing because a lot of people just kind of make the
Hmm.
same jokes with a different voice. Not terrible, but I love the idea. I love that Tom Brady agreed to do it, and he had a bunch of his teammates on stage with him. It was a good environment, good fun for ex-NFL players. But also you have a giant Gators logo behind you,
I do.
and we go to Cal College. So what's up with that?
I grew up a massive Florida fan, and it just every my entire life been a huge Florida fan. So when we moved into this house when I was in third grade, I asked my dad if we could get the Gator logo on the wall. So it's up there. Our Block F baseball logo is actually on my other wall right over here. So huge Florida fan, and that was actually one of the places I was looking to go to college. Got into Florida, but it turns out that Florida wants about 60 grand a year to go there if you don't live in the state of Florida. So I ended up at Auburn, which I've been super happy about. I've loved every second of being down at Auburn. Loved my first year. It is obviously over now as I'm back home, but yeah, that's what's up with the Gators logo back there on the wall.
Well, on that note, I guess we got nothing else to talk about. We'll see
Yeah.
y'all next week on GTD. Make sure you tune in. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch y'all next week. That's it.